looking at? Welcome to Infinite Trek,
where we cover everything Star Trek.
from animated to live action,
Comics to novels.
from games to real-life tech.
If it's Star Trek, or even Star Trek adjacent, it's here.
So get ready to talk about Trek no matter what your knowledge level is.
Whether you've been watching since the 1960s or just discovered Star Trek 47 minutes ago, we welcome you.
Hello, and welcome
Hello,
to
everybody.
Hey, we're very excited because we have not been together broadcasting for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Aaron Harvey.
I'm Brandi Jackola.
We've been talking beforehand, so we're already kind of in that groove of chatting. So how are you today, Brandi? I
am well, especially right now. How are you, Aaron?
I'm doing great. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside. It's like the Vulcan's forge outside the window, but
yeah,
nice and cool inside. Yeah, you have the similar issue. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, we haven't broadcast since we did Discovery season 1. I think reviews. It's been a while.
Right, been a very long time. That was 2017, my friend.
Wow.
So
that feels like a whole different lifetime ago at this point.
Yes. Well, everything about the last 5 to 6 months has made everything seem like it happened in a different millennium.
Yeah. And a different time continuum, I think, too.
That too. Yeah.
So, but welcome everybody to our inaugural episode. We have a bottle of Dom somewhere around here that we were going to smash over the podcast, but Arlo told us that we probably shouldn't do that over the electronics. So, but it's out there floating in space. I know.
It'll eventually run into something.
That's true. I'm sure it will hit a Klingon vessel, or a Klingon vessel will blow it up at some point.
Yes, probably.
Much like Pioneer and other space debris that they keep taking out. But no, this is we're very excited to have everybody in the chat room. We have people that I haven't seen in a while. And for all of you listening in the audio version, we will try to not always talk about something that's on screen.
That's true.
That's going to be my own personal challenge to kind of be the what is it when you put the narration underneath that tells you, or the voiceover for the people who are visually impaired? We'll just explain them.
What is that called? The something audio. It's like the enhanced audio or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
There's a real title for it, and I know it, but I can't find it. It's like 404 file not found in my brain. Sorry, guys.
We had a Doctor Who episode that had that permanently stuck on. So it was very like, this is an odd episode. It's like the Doctor walked into the TARDIS, and you're like,
I think it's descriptive audio. I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, not closed captioning. That's a different thing. That's for people who can't hear. This is for people who can't see.
Right. Like you can see possibly, but you're just not with a visual or an audio podcast. So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
So I see that you're what is your shirt that you're wearing today?
My shirt. Yes,
it's Captain Pike.
Yes. And I have a Michael Burnham, actually a Michael Burnham season 3 pin on today.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did it come out?
A little while ago. I think I want to say like a few weeks ago, maybe beginning of July. Okay. So I snapped that up the second I saw it. I'm like, yes, mine.
Yeah. I think there's a whole new these are fan set pins, by the way.
Oh yes.
I think there's a whole new line of the Women of Trek coming out. It starts with we talked about that in our technical run episode where we saw it was the glittery version of 7 of 9, which seems really it was like a funny name to call it. She's the last person I think of as like, I'm gonna put glitter on.
Yeah, it's not so, I understand why they use the word glitter, but it's really more of a shimmer. So I'm okay with that because she did wear that shimmery silver cat suit. So that works for me.
Yeah.
I can make it work in my headcanon, you guys. Yeah. I can make almost anything work in headcanon.
And I'm wearing, speaking of Voyager, I've got Captain Proton, and I'm actually wearing Emrys from the original, or Mares, sorry. As a child, I called her Emrys, and it is very hard to deprogram that. And people are like, you wrote the book on the animated series. How can you not say it right? Like, because 5-year-old Aaron didn't say it right.
Yes, exactly. It's called childhood conditioning. And it took a really long time for my younger sister to not say Paschetti. So, it's one of those things. I actually have a Mares coming. I'm really excited.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I have a Mares and a Janeway.
Yay. That would be really interesting to see them together.
I know. I'm going to wear them together just to see what happens.
Well, we have in Lower Decks the new upcoming cartoon or the animated series that is premiering next Thursday. It's coming up really quickly now.
5 days.
They have occasion as well to Anna.
Actually, I think it's just pronounced Tana from what I heard the voice actor say.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. So
I guess we'll see. Ways. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I figure if the voice actor said it that way, that's probably how it's said. But
probably.
I digress. I will leave it up to actually seeing the episode, and then we'll know for sure. But yeah, can't wait for her.
And that's one of the things we're going to be doing over the course of the next 10 weeks is just basically watching these and kind of reporting back, giving our feedback, a review of sorts. And the great thing about our show, one of the reasons we called it Infinite Trek, is that much like Brandi and I, when we get together, we don't want to be tied down to one topic.
No, we don't.
So we decided that this gives us the flexibility to, like, if we want to review Lower Decks, great. If we want to then somehow talk about Star Trek Phase 2, we can do that. We can talk about the books, the comics, the games. And we both have a lot of interests and a lot of people that we know that we are really get excited to kind of get looped in and bring in to discuss people for Star Trek Online. We've got possibly a time travel expert that might be joining us at some point. Yeah. So all sorts of fun stuff planned, but we don't want to spill the beans just yet. No bean spilling yet. There is one caveat though, is that these are really all people that you know. So you're the one with the connections at this point. We kind of both know them in a way. So social media sort of really makes that. I mean, if Twitter and Facebook didn't exist, those connections would have been exponentially harder to have made.
Agree. Yeah. So thank you, celebrities and whatnot, for being on Twitter and Facebook, even though it's kind of a cesspool right now.
Yeah. Right before the show, I even had like a run-in with a person who, has decided that if you like something and they don't, you also need to not like it.
Yeah, I don't like that attitude.
No. And I got blocked before I got to respond. So yay, I don't have to even deal with that.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. And I said this to you privately, but I'm going to say it for all the chat to hear. The one thing that trolls want the most is attention. And if you don't give it to them, they go away unsatisfied. And that's really our goal, isn't it? Is to not satisfy trolls?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, cool. I was before they block you, block them. Yes. Don't even respond. Say nothing.
I didn't have to respond, I suppose. I think it was just I have the very few opportunity to say, no, I literally wrote the book about Star Trek, the animated series. That's one thing you might not know about me, or you will know about me after spending 5 minutes with me, probably, that I and my co-author, Rich Shepis, wrote the official guide to Star Trek, the animated series. And we did that over the course of a couple of years. And then it came out on September 8th.
Yep.
Of last year. Sorry.
Of last year.
Yeah. So it came off on Star Trek Day, which was great. We had the it was a nice coincidence that the timing worked out. But yeah, so that kind of leads me into like that's sort of my professional Star Trek background. But do you want to talk a little bit about like how you came into Trek, or what got you interested in Star Trek? And then
I didn't have a choice. The more I thought about it, I was just like, No, I had no choice. My parents were watching it before I was born, and so it was just always there and always part of my life. And of course, I know that I had a choice as to whether I liked it or not, but obviously I made that choice at a very young age because I don't remember a time that I didn't like Star Trek, didn't know what it was, didn't enjoy it, and be frightened by it at the same time. So, yeah, and it was a family affair. We always watched it together, and a lot of memories of my dad are really tied up in the original series, and so I do revisit that just to have those warm fuzzy feelings of him letting me sit on his lap when I was terrified.
I had a similar like lap sitting experience with my first Trek too. That's
Yeah, with your grandpa, huh?
yes. I started in, I think it was like, it must have been, as far as I can remember, is excuse me, that was interesting. As early as I could remember. So we would watch the original series, Land of the Lost, and not Land of the Lost, Land of the Giants, Time Tunnel. That was sort of that block in the afternoon. And then when the animated series started, that was my first like live, real new show. And I remember being confused because I was young enough that this didn't look like live action. And I would always be expecting the live action when the animated came on and the animated when the live action came on. I just did not understand that you could do that.
Yeah.
That there was actually such a thing as programming.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was my grandfather he worked at Lockheed, so he had a lot of like the science background, and he would always make fun comments about how the astrogator on the Enterprise was something that would have been used in World War II, that they already had better computers in airplanes. I'm like, okay. So I guess at an early age, I was programmed to be looking at the tech and the realism of things. That's probably why I became a spaceship guy. But
Yeah.
I'm able to suspend my disbelief and put that off and enjoy the show because, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of this is not really realistic.
Well, it's realist, maybe not realistic as far as we can conceive, but there's
True.
so much we don't know. I mean, the amount of stuff we know is infinitesimal to the amount of stuff that we don't know. So that's the way I look at it, is like, how do I know that that's not possible? I can't
True.
unequivocally say that that can't be done. So
Yeah.
I'm just funny that way.
Some other, maybe a parallel universe that actually exists as Star Trek, or that would be interesting. Yeah. I would like to go anywhere where I can actually just be around people and not have to worry. Or go grocery shopping. I mean, I haven't gone grocery shopping since February, so I've ordered stuff online. But yeah, it's sort of like I have greater respect for the emergency medical hologram on Voyager when he did not have his mobile emitter, when he was stuck in his office. I'm just like, okay, I get you. I'm totally familiar with what that feels like now.
Yeah, and he got a taste of that when in season 1, when he had to go into the holodeck and save Harry and Chakotay and Tuvok because they were messing around with something that they just thought was energy. It turns out it wasn't life force. But yeah,
was
we
that
got
the
that experience.
Demons and was it Heroes and Demons?
Yeah, where it was a Beowulf simulation,
Beowulf,
and
yeah.
Harry Kim has like one line at the end. Poor Harry.
Yeah. That's when he was he gave he gave himself the name Dr. Schwartz.
Yes, no, Dr. Schweitzer.
Schweitzer, sorry. Yes.
Schweitzer.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
No, that was a fun episode. In fact, I think the Delta Flyers just recently reviewed that because they're
they have, because I do
yes.
that. I follow the Delta Flyers. It's a great podcast.
Yes.
Great way to rewatch.
Why don't we plug somebody else's podcast? But why don't we do that?
Hey,
if you want to learn more about,
dude, the Rising Sun powers all starships. Remember?
Yes, that is that. McCready 13 in the chat room had mentioned that the last time when we did our tech test, that the rising sun powers all starships. So that's sort of like the rising tide floats all boats of the 21st century.
Had to get that in. I'm done.
Yes, no, that needs to be a t-shirt.
Yes, honestly. I know, right? Let's get on Redbubble.
I will get on that right now. Excuse me. Goodbye.
Like, wait, what?
I'm going to go design, and Brandy's going to take over the show.
And it'll be just a lot of rambling and tangents from that point on, because that's what happens when I'm left to my own devices.
It's different otherwise when I'm here.
That's fair. That is completely fair.
Well, if we'd like to try and attempt to keep on track, do we want to talk about some of the crazy things in the last 2 weeks that has been happening with Star Trek? Because at one point we would have had like a struggle to come up with some news, or, we wouldn't struggle because we'd find something to talk about, but there's nothing spectacularly current all the time. But Star Trek, we've been sort of embarrassed with riches the last few months of just everything that came out. This is a couple weeks at this point now, but we had Comic-Con online or at home, and we had the announcement of another animated series that's coming out, which is Star Trek Prodigy, which will be on Nickelodeon, and it's CG. And as far as we know, and from what I can tell from like the job postings that they have out there, it's going to be along the lines of Korra and Avatar. So
nice.
Yeah. And
which
it's
are both
about
excellent series.
Yes. I really hope that it does have that quality, because that'd be great. And even though it's aimed at kids, I still feel like, so was the original series, and the animated series back in '73, yep. And it's totally enjoyable by adults too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the good balance of good animation, is that yes, it's got stuff for the kids, but it also has things for the adults, so everyone can enjoy it. When you gear something specifically towards one group, you're losing out on a lot of possible audience. So
well, and the great thing is people understand now how to have a mixed audience. Back in the 70s, advertisers were baffled about what to, like, is this a kid's show or adults? We can't have both. It's like, so the advertising didn't make any sense. It would either be all adults or all children. And they didn't know what to do, because I don't know. They also believe that kids didn't know what a rerun was, that they wouldn't know the difference between something they had already watched and a new episode. So that's why most season 2, most episodes in season 2 were cut to about 6 episodes of almost any animated series, because they thought, oh, we'll just pepper that in with all of the other ones that we've done in the previous season and kids won't know. So yeah,
kids are smarter than people give them credit for. It's like adults have forgotten what it was like when they were a kid.
Yes.
And they just look at disdain at these younger people and think, you don't have any idea what you're talking about. Yeah, actually they do. They do.
Susan Zoom in the chat rooms asks, will there be lots of GAC on Prodigy? Since it's a Nickelodeon
or should it be
show.
Yeah, GAC? I don't want GAC. I just, it doesn't need to make that connection for me. I mean, if they do, okay, but it doesn't need it.
Oh, that could be a funny joke somewhere. Like,
yeah, I suppose.
Maybe when they open up the panel and just like, or it's like the, what is it? What was the thing that fell? Oh, it was also slime from You Can't Do That on Television.
Oh, I remember slime from back in the days of Double Dare. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was childhood. Well, that was my not quite childhood, but
yeah, I was a little bit older too.
Yeah. Then. So I don't think I ever grew out of watching stuff with my brothers. So if they were watching, I think when we were at Power Rangers / Pokemon, that's when I'm like, I'm kind of transitioning out of that. So, but I was watching Freakazoid and Animaniacs, and so still watching that stuff.
Power Rangers was after my time of paying attention to that world anymore. So, and there will be certain friends of mine, they're just, how can you not like Power Rangers? I'm like, I am 47. Okay. They were popular after I became an adult. I'm sorry.
47. You're the magic Star Trek number.
Hasn't been a very magical year so far.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things will get better.
They hopefully will, yeah.
We have a lot of Star Trek this year, though. So that's at least there's something to keep us busy. We had that, and then we talked about Star Trek Discovery, and they didn't announce it then, but shortly afterwards, we found out that Star Trek Discovery is going to air immediately after Lower Decks.
Yep.
So we go from next week until October, and then from October to probably January, something like that.
Yeah.
For Discovery season 3. So there is so much out there to talk about in those shows. So and then, but that wasn't just it. There was also discussion. We had a recap of Picard, and the people talked about that. It was funny because you could tell that these people have all been together in conventions so many times that everything's just a shorthand or a joke. So it's sort of you can have a moderator, but it's not really.
Moderators are pointless with that group.
No. Especially Marina Sirtis. She just
you cannot moderate Marina Sirtis, and why would you want to? Just let her loose and let her do her thing. It's all good.
And we have Emmy nominations for short treks.
Right. Yes, I love that. That makes me super happy because I think it's best short comedy or drama, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's some stiff competition, but I think that they have a chance. It feels. I had saved the last 2 short treks because I was concerned there would not be any Star Trek. I'm like, I'm going to keep this for a rainy day. So if I really want to watch it, I should have watched it in the other order because I watched the Tribble one last. And I have just a lot of problems with that episode, but that's just me.
And that's okay. Some people liked it, some people loathed it. Yeah. And then there's varying opinions in between all those things. And
it was also very disconcerting to have Coach McGurk or Bob's Burgers voice come out of a human on Star Trek.
See, I didn't have that experience because I did not know that guy as a voice actor.
Really?
I mean, I've seen him on screen before, but I don't watch Bob's Burgers. Don't even know who Coach McGurk is. Who is Coach McGurk?
That's from Home Movies, a show that's
2000. Oh, wait, I do know that because I do know Home Movies. I did not know that was Coach McGurk. It didn't even occur to me.
Yep.
Okay, but yeah, I didn't make that connection.
Especially because when I was looking down and then looked up, he started talking before I saw him. I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah,
I'm like, that can't be. And I'm going on IMDb. I'm like, nope, that's him. Okay, that's an interesting choice. But there was just some. I think what that episode is what I feared Lower Decks would be. There's just a lot of like, hi, I'm dumb. And somehow I got to where I am. I destroyed a ship. That didn't settle well with me. But I love the way it was like shot and everything else was great. And I liked the actors. So I did find stuff I enjoyed about it. But I much more liked Q&A. When we see Spock
how could you not?
First, I know. young shouty Spock, which is what also Brandy's name is referring to a little bit here. The women.
Yes. I love that one so much.
He's right behind you, actually.
Yeah, he is right back there. That's my life-size Spock, and I love him.
Said about the better. No.
I love him, but not carnally, because he's cardboard. Okay. So
he's the board. That was a bad pun from a like movie that our friends made when we were in high school. We had Jean-Luc Picard as a cardboard cutout. So we were doing a parody of Star Trek, and it was the board. They turned everybody into cardboard characters. Yes,
isn't that Paper Mario?
It's been a long. Huh?
I was making a Paper Mario joke. Anyway.
Okay. I'm really excited to see how that turns out. And Picard also was nominated for the more traditional things that Star Trek gets nominated for: makeup, hair. Can't possibly be a story that's science fiction that might actually be, worthy of getting an Emmy.
Only if it's something that appeared on HBO.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a sci-fi series
or
that
AMC,
appeared on HBO.
Has AMC like anything from like Walking Dead? Or I'm trying to remember if
I wouldn't really call Walking Dead sci-fi.
No, it's
horror.
Unfortunately, people also mush sci-fi horror together.
Yeah, which
and
is
fantasy.
not. Yeah, no.
All three of those things are very different to me. But
So different, so
yeah.
different. But yeah, no, because Westworld has gotten Emmys and they've gotten it for performances as well.
Mhm.
But it's because I swear it's because it's on HBO. If that had been on any other network, it probably just would have gone under the radar. But it's
Yeah.
HBO.
Yeah, because Galactica was in that same vein. It could have very easily got the same. I mean, there was some, I feel, really Emmy award winning moments in that. Maybe it did get Emmys and I just don't know, but I don't believe so.
Yeah.
And Sci-Fi doesn't know how to advertise themselves anymore, it seems like, anyhow. So,
Well, I think they've tried over the years and nothing has worked, so they just gave up.
they also tilted themselves into the Sharknado vein, and then it's really hard to pull out from that when you want to do something serious, like the Expanse. That was
so good.
That was good, and then they didn't know what to do with it, and they were like, "Nope, we're done." And then Amazon's like, "Thank you." So it's continuing now. I think it is the new season just out, or
season 3 has been out for a while. We watched that
okay.
a while ago, so they're working on season 4, if I remember correctly. Well, they were until this new world happened.
This is going to be weird to listen back on these podcasts in the future when people are like, why don't they just say what it is? It's this amorphous thing. If you didn't know and you were listening to this from like a future time or an alien spacecraft, you'd be like, what are they talking about? What thing? Did we have like some sort of temporal incursion? Did we like
if only
a neutron bomb? What happened?
It's called COVID-19, folks. And those who are listening to this far in the future, go to your history book or computer and look it up and see how poorly we have handled this as a world.
We have notes from Dave in the chat room, Dave the Mod, that Battlestar was nominated for Emmys, but apparently never won any. So I would just want to give that update. Because in the future, you can't check that either, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. When the great data loss of 2075.
So. That was a tragedy. It was like the library at Alexandria all over again.
Yeah, all those tweets that were lost. Just
man, heartbreaking.
So should we talk a little bit about Lower Decks, or and what merch might be coming out from there that someone might have a strong opinion about?
Yeah. I have thoughts.
Well, so like we said, next week, Lower Decks is coming out, and it, if you don't know, is a comedy Star Trek animated series that looks really smart, and these people actually do seem to know what canon is. They've played with canon, and they have Romulan whiskey, which of course generated a ton of people like, you don't know, it's Romulan ale, and I was like, okay. We used Romulan whiskey in our improv show, along with Andorian absinthe. I mean, the idea is that the canon enough that you can then play off of that, and then people who really know it will also find it funny. So now that we've described that joke to death, it's not funny. But
yeah, well, I loved Tawny Newsom's response to it.
What was her response? I don't know if I saw.
Oh yeah, people were just trolling that phrase all over the place, like no other drink can exist besides Romulan ale for Romulans. Right. And she said, Romulan whiskey is for the celiac Romulans who can't have ale. Everybody knows that.
That's great. I have a lot of friends who are also gluten intolerant, so they would very much appreciate that.
She was on it. She was on it.
As Puck90 in the chat room said, Romulans have more than one drink.
Yeah, exactly. Every culture has more than one drink.
Yes. Well, that goes very much to the monoculture nature of what people apply to Star Trek, just whole planets. Like, oh, they all wear this same clothes. They all say this. They all act like this. Yeah, exactly. You can't possibly have, I don't know, a Klingon without bumpy heads or with bumpy heads, or it's just
And oh my gosh, Klingons without hair? That's not possible.
No,
because we haven't ever seen that before.
No, humans always have hair.
Yeah, humans always have hair, and they all have the same color of skin. And wait a minute.
No, wait. No, I'm hearing from Arlo that that's not correct.
That I can't.
Humans
I can't hear.
Oh. I have my Uhura earpieces in.
Yeah, I guess I'm not tuned into the right frequency. Arlo, where are you, Arlo?
But yeah, so with Lower Decks, we also have it is fun, a merchandise thing coming out where it's a t-shirt club. And let's see, I've got that. There we go. So you basically get what is it, 10 shirts every week. I'll let you describe it. You've kind of followed this a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so there are two ways to go about this. You can either purchase the entire subscription for $180, which equals 10 shirts. And if you do that option, you actually get a special 11th exclusive shirt and free shipping on all of those things. If you don't want to make that kind of commitment, or like most people on the planet right now can't afford to make that kind of commitment, you do have the option to buy individual shirts each week, but each shirt will only be available for 1 week. So it'll be available from the day that that episode of Lower Decks premieres until
Thursdays.
the next episode
Yeah.
premieres. So, and once they're gone because they're only printing as many as they get orders for.
And
so
they'll immediately go to eBay and be triple the price.
if not more. I did work it out monetarily, and if you can afford to fork out the $180 with the free shipping and getting that 11th shirt, it works out to about $16.36 a shirt, which is really not too shabby.
Yeah.
It's just hard for most people to do that all at once. And I feel like here's the thing. Okay, so I'm feeling very hypocritical right now, because there's this part of me that's like, this is the stupidest thing you could do right now in this climate, economically and emotionally. This is not a good idea. And then there's the FOMO part of me that's like, must have exclusive shirts.
Yeah.
And then Dave had to point out, my husband, that well, we're not
Also
going to
moderator.
FanX this year. Yeah. Dave the mod, my man, literally my man. And he pointed out, well, we're not going to FanX this year, so there's that money. And I went, oh. So yeah, I'm probably going to do it.
Which I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, but there is one shirt that I will have to get. So I have that. It's an ensign Tandy. So the shirt that she's wearing, if you don't know, is actually a riff on a classic animated series image. And my friend Bob Klein, who we've interviewed in the book, drew that originally, like on his coffee table at home for like a TV guide or something like that. So that image has been, carried over for decades, and it's now been, referenced in comic books. It's a classic Star Trek pose, like we talked about earlier, the Spock and Kirk looking up at the light on the top of the TV guide episode. And so I feel like I'm going to have to get at least this one. If this is the special one, though, then I'm screwed, because then I'd have to.
I don't think so.
I hope not.
I think that they would promote this one like they have if it were going to be the secret one that only the $180 people get. So, but I should have known that would be the one that you'd pick.
Well, it's the only one. I mean, that and one other one, they are the only ones that they've shown. I think,
and
right?
I like both of them. So
I do hope we get a I love honor, I demand honor shirt.
I hope so too. That would make my day.
I made an animated GIF out of it too.
Yes, and I love it, because it's honestly, nothing has ever been so true as that statement.
John Van Sitters, who is, if you know Star Trek, is the VP of Star Trek marketing, or Star Trek like branding altogether. Now he's been promoted up a couple times. He said this animated GIF is all of Worf's story in one GIF. It's just Worf wanting to honor.
It is.
That's his thing.
It is so perfect.
Yeah. It goes back to the whole idea of like the monoculture. It's like, if you took what Klingons were just from Worf, they'd be the least humorous, dour. There's so much about Worf that's not what a lot of Klingons are. In fact, when you see them all together, he is the odd man out.
They party. Yeah. They party hard.
Yep. So, I mean, if you saw Jadzia's and Worf's wedding, that That seems to be like just a very subdued Klingon wedding because it was on the space station. But yeah.
Well, he was marrying a non-Klingon too.
Well, that just isn't done. I also we could spin off into a whole Deep Space Nine Klingon wedding, sort of relationship tangent, which I'm sure eventually we could actually do as a whole episode. Because I would love to talk about Quark, the House of Quark. That was the whole idea that you just sort of bored them to death with money. They're like, fine, whatever. Armin is great. For my birthday, I bought myself a Shakespeare class with Armin and a bunch of other people. It wasn't not just me. So it was talking about the things that make up a Shakespeare monologue and what basically, if you're going to improvise Shakespeare, which is not what most of those people were there, they were just there for acting it. But our theater, I study improv in Los Angeles. They have an improvised Shakespeare, which to me is terrifying and fascinating at the same time. So I just watched. I wanted to see, like, okay, what could I glean from that I could use if I was ever going to do animated. Or not animated, to do animated improv. Great. To do
I want to see that.
We joked about having animated improv, like somehow doing animation where you're just like either voicing over or I don't know. It seems like it's technically possible, but a nightmare at the same time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with more nightmare.
Yeah. Just getting a regular podcast up and running seems to be technically challenging enough.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I know.
It seems like now that everybody is at home and wanting to even to just talk, we've all become TV broadcasters essentially. So if you hadn't been doing it before, you are now doing it. So welcome to the world that Brandi and I have been living in like far longer because we've been podcasting for a while.
Yeah. I've been actually podcasting since 2009. So
wow.
Yeah.
Mine was later than that.
Yeah.
Although I did do live television in high school.
Yeah.
We did homework helpline.
That's good. I did in elementary school. We had a news program that we did once a week. And I actually was part of a 2-person team that did a weather report and explained how clouds form and how rain works. And that was 4th or 5th grade. So it was a long time ago.
Back when everything was in black and white.
Yeah, actually, I think it was in black and white.
Some stuff, I jokingly said that, and I'm like, oh wait, no, we probably had a black and white TV, except for the main television in the front of the house, and that was still when they were saying in color as a big, selling point, which is just kind of hilarious to think how far we've come visually and just technically in that short period of time.
And yet, emotionally and intellectually, not so much.
Yeah. Well, that might drive you to drink, and if it does, we have the perfect thing.
Yes.
It's coming out November 3rd. There is going to be the Star Trek cocktail book coming out. So it's the Stellar Compendium, and I think this is great because we'll talk about this next week, hopefully, the swag box that we're getting from the Lower Decks people is all alcohol based because it is really like they watched our improv show Night Shift and then just made an animated show out of it and changed a few things. It's like there's characters from the Improvised Generation, which was we're spin off from them, and our show, and just like, oh, they took those 2 characters and glued them together. Obviously, it's just that we all hit the similar notes. If you look for Star Trek and you try to find humor and then keep it Star Trek still, there's only so much bandwidth you have to create characters and situations. But yeah, we ended up, we drank a lot on that show. Fake drink. We in our second episode, we had a Naked Now episode, and it was not planned. Obviously, it was improv. It wasn't planned. And we had an ale that reversed everybody's personalities. So if you were really inhibited, you were then really outgoing. and vice versa. Or Stu, who is our civilian who just hung around with us, he went from being kind of just this slack off kind of, loose kind of canon guy to basically Jean-Luc Picard. He was just, and he engineered a way for us to break out of the brig, and it was a whole lot of fun. But back to the cocktail book. So this looks great. I think I'm excited. I hope there's a Sumerian sunset in it. Although I'm thinking no, because a lot of them, it's you obviously can't read this, I don't think, but yeah,
it's old-fashioned.
It's the screenshot that I got this from StarTrek.com. So a lot of these are like Odo's camouflage or something like that. Which I think the Great Link would have been a better drink of some kind. I don't know. But these all seem to be themed off of characters, so I think it's more external and not in world. So we might not have a Sumerian sunset, which would be sad.
Yeah, I just had a horrible thought. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not. I was just thinking, if you're gonna do an Odo drink, why don't you? I don't care what you call it, but shouldn't you serve it in a little bucket?
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think that it's in the bucket. Actually, I don't know. You'd have to go look, but yeah, there's a lot of things you could do with Odo. It could also be like a what is the drink that has like a boba? It could be a little more thicker or something like that. An alcoholic boba.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so that is, I think, something I'm looking forward to. It's from Hero Collectors, I believe.
Yes, they do a lot of that.
Yeah. So I was trying to find it on StarTrek.com, and it looks like it has moved. So yeah, I know. We do the best we can to get all of the possible graphics that we're going to want, but then something like this will always come up, and so trying to find it live on a show is maybe not the best thing. And the audio podcast, people can't see it anyhow. So we're sorry. Eventually, when we do some sort of radio play or something, the visual audience is going to be at the deficit.
Yeah, they're really bored out of it.
You're going to hear it afterwards when we put the sound effects in and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, they'll still be facial expressions, because I got the facial expressions. I just need something to use them on. So
yeah, I think both of our improv backgrounds will serve us well in that case.
I agree. I agree.
Do we want to talk about what we've talked about possibly doing?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. We have discussed doing some reenactments of the Phase 2 scripts, because some of them exist. So we want to take like a scene or something and kind of review it as if it was an actual episode, because a lot of these turned into Next Generation episodes, and they're the Phase 2 Bible, which at the time was called Star Trek 2, because it was before the Wrath of Khan. It was just plain Star Trek 2. They basically took the Bible and just changed a few names and applied it to Next Generation. So a lot of what you read and what they're just the bent of the characters and stuff were already decided in the 70s.
Yeah.
So, but I think it would be really fun just to pretend that it was like the Paramount television service actually premiered, and here's what it was.
Yeah. I would like to have done that, because there's still so much that I don't think is really publicly known about those scripts in their original form. So yeah, I want to do that.
I really like the first episode of regular episode after the TV movie, which was basically the motion picture, is a knockoff of The City on the Edge of Forever, essentially. But it's a continuation of Star Trek the Motion Picture that didn't happen because of the ending got changed. Originally, in the motion picture, there was a whole fight scene with the Klingons at the end, which probably would have been kind of more interesting or something. Just it would have ended it with a little bit more action, I think. I don't know if that happened before they got to V'ger or if it was after. But this starts with the Enterprise being damaged and going back to Earth, or being in Earth orbit, and there's a thing that happens, and then there's time travel. So,
ooh,
Yes. So we will address that when it comes. But yeah, that's something we've talked about. We want to do a little bit of just some reenactment, some radio play type. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. And we have no dearth of people who can do voices.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can do voices.
And I think half the people in the chat room could do that as well. We have Puck90, who is Allison, who will be having her own show. It's Allison's this is not right. Allison's Sci-Fi Super Fun Time. And she's going to tell me if it's right or wrong, where she's reading science fiction. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think
that is super cool. I love that.
But yeah, so we Outpost 13, which is what we are visually broadcasting on before we go to the Trek Geeks Network for our audio podcast, is a collection of improvisers and creative people, musicians. There's a show on Wednesdays at 7:00 called Made Up Music, which takes suggestions from the chat room. Allison's Sci-Fi Library Super Fun Time. I'm never going to get that right, and she's going to just roll her eyes at me.
That's okay. I'll get it right for you, Allison. Don't worry.
Here, we'll just put it up.
Yep.
There. So they take information from the chat room. They'll take clips, audio clips, all sorts of fun stuff, and they turn it into music. Like the music that you hear in our entrance lobby is also from that show. So it's been a lot of fun to watch them put that together, and so join us if you're not listening to the audio podcast. Come on and watch the video podcast.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There's a ton of fun shows. So we have a few minutes left. Do we want to is there anything else that you want to wrap up and talk about? We got any more news?
Tick tock, Brandi's mind is blank. Nothing else in there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, next week, we're going to be talking about Lower Decks. I'm very excited about that. I believe Bill from Trek Geeks is going to be joining us for the premiere. And we're going to teach everybody how to make the Romulan a whiskey, which has blue curacao and some bitters. And we'll try and put the list of ingredients out onto our Twitter account before we get to that point. In fact, that's if you have not followed us, because I don't think anybody has, because it's about a day old. We have our Twitter account and Instagram, which is Infinite Trek on both of those.
Yeah.
So you can join us there, and I will be posting the directions on how to create that. So if you want to join us when we talk about the preview or the premiere and have your own Romulan whiskey with you, feel free to do that.
I know.
We will not judge you if you're drinking at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
You know, honestly, no matter what time of day it is, it's always nighttime somewhere. So,
and what does time mean anyway at this point?
Exactly. What does time mean? Because the wormhole aliens do not experience time. Which
you live here.
Yeah, you exist here.
You exist
here. Time. What is that?
Hopefully we will not exist in 2020 at some point. It does feel like 2020 will not ever end.
It has felt like it's a decade long. It really, really has.
Mm-hmm. Really has. It is very interesting.
Yeah, well, this whole week felt like it was 3 weeks for me. So I swear I had Thursday like 3 times. So, yeah.
I think it's really advantageous, though, that we do have new Star Trek, because if we didn't have something like this, I feel like people would be inventing something. I mean, we'd be doing our improv show, or we'd be writing fan fiction or something, because there's just the positivity of Star Trek, and just the fact that we're going to get past this eventually. There's going to be some really crappy stuff in between, like World War III, at least in the fictional universe. Please, not in our universe. That you just having that hope is something that is necessary.
It is. It really, really is. And the thing that worries me is that as a student of humanity, I guess is the way to put it, and how we do not learn from history, I'm worried that the only way we're going to get to that Star Trek future is if so many of us are wiped out that we can't do anything else but come together.
Yeah.
I really want to believe that we can just do it because it's the right thing to do. But after working in retail for 20 years, I don't work in retail anymore, but that will kill your soul faster than anything. That will kill your hope for humanity
Oh no.
really quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on the fence as to whether or not we can actually get to that point without some kind of massive catastrophe wiping so many of us out. I pray that
Maybe
I'm
what we're
wrong.
going through now will be enough to push people once the. Okay, I'm like fine.
You're so cute. We've been through this before. It was called the Spanish flu.
Well, we got over that sort of.
We didn't learn from that.
We did until the people who learned about it got too old and died. I think that might be part of it. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm hoping that I'm ever the optimist, even though my friends would probably think otherwise. I can be sarcastic and still be an optimist. In fact,
Yes.
I think you're required to have some sort of optimism to be annoyed about that's not happening, to be sarcastic and sort of,
Yeah.
in
This
that
is
mode.
not to say that I don't have hope. That's not
No, I know.
the point of this. It's just there's so much evidence to the contrary. So I'm hoping that I am wrong. I call it being a realist, and people will say, well, no, that's just a pessimist. No, a pessimist is someone who always thinks that everything is going to go wrong. A realist is someone who hopes for the best but is prepared for the worst.
Yes.
That's this girl. So that's what I do.
And to bounce off of something that McCready 13 in the chat room said, what might be some of the episodes that for these times, what you would go to? What is your go-to either comfort episode or episodes that make you have hope for the future in Star Trek? Any series.
All of season 2 of Discovery. I've rewatched that 7 times. I'm not kidding. All the way through, from start to finish. It's a really emotional experience for me in a very good way. I love handpicking those episodes that I just really loved the first time I experienced them. And there are so many that if I came up with a comprehensive list, it would be like 20 pages long, because there are those
Let's
episodes.
watch Star Trek, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. I have watched Star Trek. So seriously, when I was asked to pick my favorite DS9 episodes, I had to pare the list down, and it was still like 25 entries long. So yeah, when it comes to favorites, I have a lot, or I don't pick favorites at all. But yeah, right now and for the foreseeable future, I've watched season 2 of Discovery so many times that it's like a warm blanket. It's like someone hugging me. And I just it just makes me forget all my troubles.
I wouldn't mind Captain Pike hugging me, but
yeah, I wouldn't mind any of them hugging me. I just want them all to surround me.
Yes.
All to just cuddle me. Just a big group hug.
I feel like if any cast would do that, it would be that cast.
It absolutely would be that cast.
I feel like they probably have done that to somebody at some point.
Doug Jones is a big hugger, and he's an instigator, so you know.
Well, and I have been hugged by Mary Shifo a couple times, so to admit that's I know.
I've been hugged by Tony Todd.
Oh, nice.
So, Tony Todd. That was a really emotional meet for me when I got to meet Tony Todd. So, because we talked a little bit about Trek. We talked about Chuck, because I'm a huge Chuck fan, and then we just started talking about other things. Like he had a cat that he really, really loved that had recently died, and I know what that feels like. And I'm just like getting emotional as he's talking, and he's like, "Wow, you're a really sensitive person," and and it wasn't in a bad way. I mean, he's a cuddly one. That Tony Todd is cuddly.
And I think that we also sometimes can care for our pets more than some of our fellow people, because it's just they love you unconditionally, and they're just always there. And when they're not, it's devastating. It
really is devastating, because that cat that I had was He was probably 18 or 19 when he died.
Aw.
And I mean, I had him before I even knew Dave existed. So, and Dave, he immediately took to Dave. The first time I
Aw.
brought him home, he hid from me for 3 days. The first time Dave came over, I said, well, he doesn't like strangers. He's probably going to, and then he comes up and just jumps on Dave's lap and goes to sleep. I'm like, okay, thanks for making me a liar. Appreciate you.
No, he was just saying that like this person is okay.
Yeah.
Like this pick this one.
Mm-hmm. And he loved Dave from the start, so that was a very good sign.
That's great. I would say the same thing about my cat, and then like 2 seconds later, she will come in and like try and get in the picture or something like that. I'll just be like, get out of. During our test run, no one could hear it because we have good mics, but outside the door was just this. And I went out and there's a pile of like paint flecks and dirt. I'm like, or in wood. So I'm like, okay, great. So now the door is open to crack and the cat has no interest in coming in here. So good.
Yeah.
But for Susan Zoom in the chat room says, which characters from the Star Trek universe would you want in your quarantine pod? That's an interesting question.
I have 2 that pop into my brain immediately, and that's Tilly and Spock. Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. I think Tilly probably would be one for me. Although it's almost like you need Spock so you could have that break from like relentless Tilly might be a little too much, especially if you're like always together all the time. But I think for me, Janeway would be one of them. Because Voyager's my warm blanket.
Yeah. And I identify super hard with Tilly because I am awkward and can word vomit all over you really, really quickly if you'll allow it. And, I'm a curvy girl and, grew up being bullied and so on and so forth. I was a weird kid like Tilly was. So there's so much.
Probably if Star Trek fans of our age probably were in a little bit in that weird bucket.
Yeah. So so those are the first 2 that popped into my head because it would be the perfect balance of everything that I love about Trek.
Yep. I think that's a really good place to end this.
I guess, has it already been an hour?
It's already been an hour. I know. I just feel like had we watched the Lower Deck screeners, we would have been too tempted to actually talk about it before. So I'm kind of glad that we didn't do that because we'd be like, but the previews are, I'm again, I love honor. I demand honor. That's just like, that just keeps going through my head. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you everybody in the chat room. I don't think I was expecting quite so many people to pop in. I'm very excited. It's also a really interesting logistical challenge to record and move things and chat and like, so that I will become a multitasking kind of like the EMH at some point. I'll just be able to, or data processing stuff in the background. And so,
it's live shows are no joke. They may look easy to the audience, but there's a lot of moving parts.
Yep.
A lot of moving parts.
And as Stephen Kieran, someone at our improv theater would say, this is the worst seat in your house. And I'm in the house. I'm pointing to my head because you always think, I've messed that up, or no one notices. They're having fun.
Don't exist here.
As long as we're having, don't exist here.
Don't exist here. Exist out
here. Yes.
Out here.
Well, we will see everybody next week for the premiere of Lower Decks, and Bill Smith will be joining us. And yay! And good afternoon, or good afternoon. Goodbye. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.